Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Relationship Wednesday. This is my first Relationship Wednesday that I've done since we've, taken a long break. But I was scheduling up. My plan was to get some guests on, but it just didn't work out the way I thought it would. And so I just wanted to just come on and we got 2 Wednesdays left in December. And this is the Sunday right before Christmas. And then, of course, then we have the next week, which is before New Year's. And of course, I pre-record these, so you'll get the same for us today and next Wednesday. But I just wanted to take this time and say to everybody, thank you for being a part and joining in and watching our Relationship Wednesdays when we have posted those. It's been quite a journey. I just wanted to really recap the heartbeat and the mindset of starting Relationship Wednesday, because as we move into 2026, I really want everybody to be able to flow and understand the direction of where we're going with it. So this sessions are really more vision casting and understanding, because I believe that if you can get context of why you're doing something, then you can get more out of your listening. Because for example, if I was talking to somebody about coaches, and where if you are playing in the NFL and you are a wide receiver playing in the NFL, there's different type of coaches. You got speed coaches, route runners, you got people to help you catch better. And so if you're clear on what you're looking for, then you're clear on what type of coaching you need. And I'm just basically saying the more you understand the why, the more you can get out of a situation that you're going into. And so I really want to make sure you understand the purpose and the plans and why we started Relationship Wednesday, so that way for people who are joining in and understanding. So my goal of Relationship Wednesday predominantly was that relationships are vitally important, because understanding that relationships drive everything, meaning that if you're going to fulfill your purpose in life, it's going to be relationships. If you want to go anywhere in life, it's going to be because of relationships. I mean, like even the basic, if you want to go on vacation, how do you go on vacation? You actually need a pilot. If you're flying, so let's say you go overseas, you need a pilot. Or if you're going on by boat, you need forgot to get the captain, the guy who steers the ship. So in other words, you need people. Then also you got to have cab drivers, or if you're getting a ride. I mean, that there's relationships. Of course, they're short-lived, because you're using them for temporary. But the whole point is there were connections you made to get you to your destination. The Bible says, confess your faults one to another that you may be healed. So what's the point? What is the point of that? When James put that in the scriptures, he's basically saying is that whatever I'm looking for in life, because healing could mean in my goals, my vision. Because healing represents, because I say if I want to see something good in my life, that's a healing in a sense. So in metaphorically speaking, so when I'm looking for healing, and when he says confess your faults, in other words, there's somebody God will put in your life to help you get to your destination. And so now Satan knows that if I can destroy your connections, then I can mess with your purpose. And a lot of times we go through things in life where the enemy finds ways to use bad situations to make us no longer trust good connections moving forward. And I just think that the enemy has done a great job in doing that, where because when you live this life long enough, just understand, we're going to be injured by people. It's one thing to be, you fall off a ladder. You ain't mad at the ladder. You know what I'm saying? You don't get mad at a ladder for falling. You don't get mad at a hammer for dropping, fall on your foot. You may get mad at the person who let it go. But in other words, usually most hurts that we go through, 99% of them come through a relationship. So if you get let go off your job, you're not mad at the job. You're mad at the people who let you go. Relationship. So that's where it comes down to. So now what happens is Satan knows that we're going to have situations in our life where we're going to be hurt by people. And we know why that is. We all know hurt people. Because everybody is going to be, because we're all growing and we're all learning, we're all going to get hurt by people. Sometimes we're going to be in the firing lines of people's situations. Sometimes we will be. It's just the way it goes. But the problem is we don't process it right. We allow those hurts to keep us trapped. In other words, our hurts become our prison and never our university, by where I can know how to, you learn from those things and where I can capitalize and know how to create better relationships. Instead, I let those relationships keep me locked in a prison, and now I no longer can create the right relationships to get to my purpose. So why? Because Satan knows that the way I can destroy your purpose is destroying your idea of how to build healthy relationships. So once I destroy that, then you can have the best plans and purposes for your life. So I give you an example. I know somebody, because I don't want to call out any names or whatever. I know somebody who had a bad experience with a doctor. And so they just put in their mind all doctors are bad. So they no longer go to a doctor. But God may tell you to go to the specific doctor to get your help, but you won't go because of the last doctor you went to. You felt like it was a malpractice and they didn't do right. So because of that, now I don't want to go to any other doctor. And I've seen some people die early and never fulfilled their plan because they didn't go to the doctor because they felt like the doctors were bad for them. And so now that's what I mean, where we get hurt by that. That's why I call it Relationship Wednesday, and that's why I named it after I did, or in other words, after we've gone through relationship hardships. And that's what I meant by shipwreck, meaning that it's not the healthy relationships we got to work through. It's the ones that the difficult ones, the ones that we felt like broke our trust, the ones that felt like betrayed us, the ones that backstabbed us. And it's not about that. It's just really how do we work through those things so that way I can know how to find the healthy relationships and never allow my future relationships to be defined by the betrayals and by the backstabs and by the things that didn't work out in my favor. Because if you don't know how to manage that, you can move into life mismanaging future relationships and never trusting anybody, and you find yourself in a cycle, in a loop where you never find the right ones. So I'll give you an example. What I mean, even though it may not be the same thing, but hopefully you get my metaphor. As a basketball player, he damaged his ACL, and he went through his healing process. He came back, he played, and he damaged it again to the point where he did it so many times, but along the way, you could see him favoring that knee when he was playing. So in a sense, it kept happening because his mind was already expecting for it to hurt, to break again. And a lot of times that's what happens. That's what the enemy does. He says, "Let me take you through a betrayal, so that when you go into new relationships, you're already expecting a betrayal. Let you go through this hurt, so you can already be expecting the next one. So now." You're going into new relationships not to find out how to maximize your vision. You go into new relationships making sure you don't get hurt again. So you go into it making sure you don't hurt me. Where you going, what you doing. Like, I got to make sure that you don't hurt me anymore. And so then you're trapped in that prison of what happened, and you never be able to maximize your future relationships. And that's what I begin to see for a lot of people. So now what happens is I've seen a lot of people out on the internet where they're trying to give remedies, meaning like, this is how you work through this is how you work through that. And I'm like, wow, there's so many people who are learning all these tools and principles, but they're not learning it God's way. And so I found that a lot of what the internet is offering is Percocets. And if you don't know Percocet is a strong pain medicine, meaning that for people who deal with chronic pain, Percocet is one of those type of medicines that you take, or pain pills that you could take to numb the pain. And so what I found is that what a lot of people are treating is like they'll say things like anger management. So they're saying you're still angry, but you just manage it. So in a sense, they're teaching you hurt management. You're still hurt, but we're going to show you how to manage it and make sure that you can do better all by yourself. And a lot of times I'm seeing online where they're giving us more so bitter approaches than better approaches, I mean the word approaches. In other words, I can do all. It's the whole thing with Beyonce said, "Me, myself, and I." That's what I found out. I'll be my own best friend. When you break that down, what she's saying, I've been hurt by somebody. What I realized is that I can only go into relationships basically taking care of me. And so, in other words, so even though I go into a relationship, I'm not going in to serve you. I'm going into it to serve me. So because of that, a lot of times we take in that mindset. That's how we go into it, where I'm in the prison of my past relationship while I'm trying to make future relationships work. And so which means that we're not healing God's way. It's like we're doing it the world's way. And so that's how the world trains us. It's I'm gonna manage my hurt. I'm gonna go in it and basically make it about me. And that's how they do it. Say, now, think about this. And this is one thing I've learned. I asked the question, I asked God, why are we so selfish? Like, when, relationship, a lot of people say, you so selfish, you make it all about you and this and that, whatever. And bringing that up don't mean it's going to fix it. And usually it takes one to know one. A lot of times you don't even realize your own self-centeredness. They may have more of a higher level than you, but you just as self-centered as they are. Because usually birds of a feather flock together. How could you say that? I'm just telling you, zebras hang out with zebras, lions hang out. Look at National Geographic. They'll show you. They hang out with each other as their core people. And a lot of times in our character, we hang out with the same type of people. We may have different degrees of it, but the core mentality a lot of times is the same. And so now just think about this. When you get injured, I remember I fractured my ankle, a bone in my ankle. I rolled my ankle. I was playing basketball. I rolled my ankle and I fractured it. And that I couldn't be a help to anybody. I had to serve my injury. And so, in other words, injuries make you selfish. Because in other words, I can't help you. I got to help myself. I'm injured. I'm hurt. I'm tending to my injury. I'm not tending to you. I got to tend to my injury. And a lot of times that's what we do when we're injured. In our relationships, we go into new ones serving ourselves. In other words, I'm not here for you, I'm here for me. Why did that happen? Because I never healed the right way from my injury. So now in natural terms, we get injured. So when you get injured physically, what happens? I'm injured. Some injuries, there are different levels of injury. Some injuries where you got to take a time out. I'm giving the injury time to heal. That's why people say, let me take a break from relationships so I can. But a lot of times the break don't mean that you heal in relational terms, in natural terms, of course. But the principles applies. Normally, certain things happen. You may have to have a doctor. If you break a bone, you have the doctor reset it, this and that, whatever. You have different things, different remedies to be able to go through those. But you're tending to. You're not helping anybody. You can't. If you're an athlete, you can't help the team because you got to basically make it about you and get the injury fix. I'm a 49er fan, for those who don't know. My linebacker and my star pass rusher went down. So now they can't help the team. They both injured. They on the sideline getting their injuries healed. So a lot of times, and if they come back too soon, it may be more of a detriment to themselves than anybody else, right? So in relationships, that's what sometimes we'll try to take that same approach. I don't want you to be a rebound. This and that. I got to take my time out, make sure whatever, because I felt injured by whatever it may be. And of course, with them when in the game, they're not mad at anybody. You know why? Because they understand it comes with the sport. And a lot of times, that's the thing that we have to realize. Relationships is a high impact sport, and that's one thing I've understand. And I think the quicker we understand that, the quicker we'll be able to work through it. That's one of the things we need to understand. If you're going to really learn to maximize relationships, you have to be prepared to handle hits, handle injuries, and handle those type of setbacks. They come with the game. See, and that's why I listen to them. They're not mad at football. Like, how dare football treat us like we put the work in and we put all this time into it. How dare they do us like that? But in relationships, we do the same thing. We act like, we are exempt. I give you an example to talk about. Being around ministry a long time, I've been around ministry over 30 years, and even though I haven't been in ministry, but I've been around it because, I'm a PK and all that kind of stuff. I've seen assistant pastors get up in the pulpit and say how much they love their pastor, but a year later, just to find out they opened up a church down the street and took half their members. So they were plotting while they actually giving them their kudos. And that's just one case. And I heard another case where members did that, took the people and opened up a church. I'm saying, I heard like over 20 situations like that. So I'm like, oh, wow. So it's not an individual. This comes with the territory of the game. And there's one thing I also learned too, and this was something that I found out in ministry, that it seemed like this is just observation. I'm not saying it happens in everything, but what I learned with not just pastors, but people, it seemed like the people you invest the most time into are the people who are quick to turn, the first ones to turn on you. Like I got pastor friends with who they put more time than everybody else were the ones who turned on them. And what happens is that in a lot of some pastors got bitter and hurt over it. Some pastors understood this was part of the game. This came with it. Because I'm gonna tell you something. And if, like me, being in ministry is a people business. Ministry is about working and dealing with people. And everybody is not going to love you all the time. So you like, remember Jesus? He goes into Jerusalem. Hosanna, Hosanna. Those same people that praised him are the same people that said crucify him. Think about that. And Jesus said, forgive them for they know not what they do. And so I'm saying is that those things happen. But if you don't know how to process it, and that's what the whole point of Relationship Wednesday was all about. It was all about dealing with that, understanding that when those betrayals, those setbacks, those hurts, those things happen, how do we process it God's way? How do I deal with it the way where I can heal, the right way, where I can now learn that God got the good people for me, and where I don't let the bad things and those things that happen sideline me and injure me to a point where I can no longer maximize my relationships, to where now I'm derailed from my purpose because I never learned how to handle the betrayals, learn how to handle people who you invested in turn on you, and knowing that comes with the game. And we have to understand that. And I just think that a lot of times we take things too personal, and we not realize that this is going to happen. I mean, when you look at scriptures in the Bible where God talks about don't let bitterness get in, because he said he wouldn't tell you that unless there was a temptation to be bitter. He would say don't harbor unforgiveness. Why would he tell you? Because he knows there's a temptation to harbor unforgiveness. Like those are temptations there. And he's saying don't let that happen. And I just believe that God has a way on us being able to move through those things the right way. So the way what the enemy tried to meant for evil, God going to use it for my good. And where I can come out of it with a celebratory posture versus a bitter posture. And where now I can, because I'm going to tell you, like with me, certain things I've been through in ministry and stuff like that, just, as a leader being misunderstood and sometimes it hurt, whatever. But the temptation is, well, you know what? I put my best foot forward, and I thought that, these people be with me and they will understand. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just not going to trust anybody. Like, I'm going to do ministry, but I ain't trusting nobody. It's just, I'm just going to keep to myself, this and that. You know what happened? I just came in agreement with my yesterday, and I basically broke an agreement with my purpose. Because understanding that God said, I'm going to send good people to you, but I can't, because I'm already so fixated on not being hurt again. And then now, which means I'm not processing it the right way. So in other words, instead of chopping it up like a football player, when you get hit, I don't take offense to it because part of the game. I'm taking it too personal, and I miss out on all in the beauty of the relationships. And so I wanted to just say this is that when you love, you have to be okay with getting hurt, because love, when I love you, that means that when things do happen, it will hurt. But I have to be okay with that. So in other words, we have to be strong enough as people to be able to take a hit and not take it personal and keep it moving. Because if you don't, you'll always find yourself, being trapped by the enemy schemes and not understanding. So anyway, just to wrap it all up, I just wanted to tell you, that was the whole point of Relationship Wednesday, meaning that our job is to really show us, taking biblical principles and also interviewing different people, talking to different people, even in their journey. Like, how did you handle this betrayal? How did you handle this loss? How did you handle? So we can all maybe get a godly perspective on how did you come out of that, where this didn't interrupt your future godly relationships that God has for you, and where you can now chop it up as thank you, God, for those seasons that we had. And yes, it didn't maybe the way I would like it to, but I'm gonna still put a praise on it and know that God can still do something great in my future relationships. That was the whole point and purpose of Relationship Wednesday. All right. Well, God bless you, and I'll see you next week. Have a Merry Christmas, everybody, and I'll see you next week.
Thank you for joining Pastor Wayne Powell Sr. for this edition of Relationship Wednesday. We hope you enjoyed this episode of After I Did. Let's keep the conversation going by leaving your questions and comments in the chat. We also invite you to like, share, and subscribe to this channel. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you are reminded to join us next Wednesday as Pastor Wayne continues this discussion of After I Did.